I love writer's block. Yes, seriously. Writer's block can help us be more productive and more creative, but only if we respond to it the right way. We have exactly 3 choices for how we respond to writer's block, and only one of them is actually beneficial for the long term. Today we're going to talk about how we can stop fighting writer's block and actually use it to become more productive writers. All right, y'all, take a deep breath with me. You've made it to the Rottenwoods. There's no stress in the Rottenwoods, no pressure. You are surrounded by folks who love stories. If you're looking for even more of that feeling, head over to the free online Rottenwoods community. Now, we really need this feeling today because we are talking about something that all writers absolutely love, right? You love writer's block. I can feel you tensing so hard you're about to break your pen cap. You're thinking, if writing block is good, then why does it feel so awful? And yes, it feels terrible. There are a lot of things potentially going on when you're experiencing writing block, and none of them are fun. So step 1 when we're talking about this is to figure out exactly what is happening. Let's shift away from talking about writer's block as a catch-all term, and let's get more specific. So writer's block is not one thing. There are several things that could be happening, but across the board, it is your brain sending you some really useful information. But that information can come in several forms. So think about your experience and see if you can tell which of these sounds the most familiar. Cognitive overload, fear, anxiety, or perfectionism, lack of clarity about your next step or your audience, fatigue or burnout. So one or more of those may sound familiar to you. And with that identified, you have a better idea of the type of writer's block you're experiencing, what it actually means, where it's coming from. Now, of course, that alone doesn't do a whole lot for you. You're probably sitting there thinking, okay, great, I'm burnt out. Now what? Knowing that you're burnt out doesn't stop you from being burnt out, right? So now we are at an important juncture. We are looking our writer's block in the face. We know what it is, we see it. Basically, we've been hiking along with our writing. We're heading toward a summit. We want it bad. We've got a good pace, we're moving along, and then we reach a section of trail that's washed out, impassable, completely blocked. So we have exactly 3 options. The first option is to turn around and go home. You give in to the block, you get relief. Now, most of us know that's not the correct option if we want to reach the summit, but I know I've certainly done it because sometimes you just feel like you've exhausted all the other options. And you just think, I can't get around it. I can't go anymore. And that happens. And that's going to happen because you're not seeing all the options that you have. We're going to talk more about that in a second. But I do want to clarify exactly why giving in to writer's block, why turning around and going home is not going to be good for us in the long term. Because when we do that, it's real easy to rationalize it and think, I can't get around this. I'm just going to turn around. I'm going to go home. I'll come back out tomorrow. I'll give it another try then. And yes, you could do that, but that washed out section of trail, it is still going to be there when you come back tomorrow. It's not just going to grow back. And now you have lost the momentum that you had. And when you come back and it's not any easier, then it's just even more disheartening. You're losing that little bit of hope. Day after day, your hope is just getting washed away just like the trail. And what you are doing by giving into it is you are reducing short-term discomfort. It does not feel good to be blocked. And so by turning around, by giving in, we are getting relief. But when we do that, we are teaching our brain that avoidance is the correct response. We are training our brain to shut down when it encounters resistance. So I think it's pretty obvious why that is not going to be good for us as writers in the long term. So that's the first option. The second option is to push through it. We're going to see that washed out trail and we're going to say, I can make it. I can walk on nothing. I can balance on this eroded soil. And I see that long slide, that long fall down the mountain, but I can do it. And you know what? That might work. You might make it. But even if you do, you just used a lot of extra energy and now you're tired Are you going to be able to make it to the summit? What happens if you run across another obstacle? After doing all that, even a little down tree might be tough for you to get over because you're tired. That was a lot of work. Not to mention, you're putting yourself at risk. If your foot slips, you're going all the way down the mountain. And truly, how many times can you do that? If it's washed out up ahead, are you going to be able to do that 2 times, 3 times, a dozen times? It's exhausting, and it might feel good in the moment because you just overcame something. But again, it's not good for our long-term creativity as writers. If we are burnt out and grinding our gears all the time, our work is going to reflect that. We just can't produce our best stuff when we're burnt out. And if you're pushing through writer's block all the time, that is going to take a toll. So that brings us to the third option. And you might be looking around and thinking, the trail's washed out. I can go across it, or I can turn around and go home. What third option are you talking about? And that's the way it feels when you're dealing with writer's block, at least for me. I'm sitting there trying to write and I'm thinking, okay, I can either push through this session, get something down, it's gonna be garbage, I'm probably gonna cut it tomorrow, or I can stop for the day and rest and try again tomorrow. Those feel like the choices. But there is a third option. Your third choice is to actually stop, take a beat, look around, and read the terrain. First of all, figure out why it's washed out. Figure out where this block is coming from. Was there a fire that destabilized the soil? Is there flooding? Did a tree fall and take up a root ball? Figure out the cause first. And we started doing that at the beginning of this video by identifying what type of writer's block you're experiencing. So if you're tired, mentally fatigued, that's going to be different than if you're having fear or imposter syndrome. And I would encourage you to try to identify those things and then dig down to them even more. If you find that you're burnt out, try to see, where is that coming from? Why am I burnt out? What is in my schedule, in my life, that is leading to that? So rather than thinking you have to decide between just brute force, pushing through at all costs, and giving up, throwing your hands up, turning around, actually stop for a second. Look around, listen, think. Give yourself a moment to recognize, what is this coming from? Why is this happening? First of all, when you do this, you might find a creative way around it. You might see somewhere you can go up above the washed out trail. You might find a log that can serve as a footbridge. Those 60 seconds of thinking and observing will have saved you so much energy as opposed to just pushing through. If you're dealing with writer's block and everything is just so hard, and you stop and observe and realize you're getting a little complacency, maybe instead of pushing through, you pick up and you go to a different area. You go to a coffee shop. You go sit down in the woods and write there. And maybe that gets the words flowing. If you realize it's coming from mental overload and you just don't have the space for creativity, maybe you mark a day on your calendar and say, this is my writing day. And you're able to clear out everything else for that day. And maybe that gets you going. Try to get creative. Don't let yourself be boxed in. We're not boxing in our storytelling, so there's no reason to limit ourselves in the way that we work. The other thing that is really important about this, about taking the time to look around and figure out, why did this happen, is that if we can understand why, then we can prevent it in the future. And this right here is the real reason that I love writer's block. When you can start seeing it as a signal, then you can use it. If this section of trail is washed out because there was a fire and that destabilized the ground and now erosion has led to this big washout, what about the other sections of trail? Were there fires there? What caused that fire? Did someone leave a campfire burning? What can we do to protect the other sections of trail from the same thing happening? Can we educate folks about fire safety? If you are having a writer's block on chapter 3, it stands to reason that there are going to be more as we move through this manuscript. I've got a lot of faith in you, but if you're having writer's block, early on in the manuscript and you don't address the root cause, then it's probably going to continue. And then you'll either not finish your story, or you're going to be writing from this place of just pressure and anxiety and just pushing through. You know what it feels like when you are just, you're forcing the words out. It feels terrible. It reads terribly, right? If you're forcing the story out, then it reads like that's what you were doing. I don't want that for you. I want you to get into that flow state where it's easy and where it feels like you are telling a story that is just coming from somewhere else and it is just moving through you onto the page. And writer's block is one of the ways that we can get there. If we pay attention to why it's happening, take the time to stop, not be reactive, and instead look around, figure out what is the true cause here, what is the top of writer's block, and then why is that happening? What is the root cause? And finally, what changes can I make to address that? Because productivity is not just forcing the words down onto the page. It is reducing friction so that writing becomes easier. So let's look at our 3 options. Turning back, giving in. It spends no energy, but it gains nothing. Pushing through exerts a lot of energy. Pausing to read the terrain invests energy. You are putting in energy now so that you can reap those rewards later. Because the goal is not to get words down on the page today. It is to continue getting words down tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the next year. For most of us, the next decades, because this is our lifelong practice. This is something that we love. It's not something that we're doing to complete this one story. We're storytellers. That's who we are. That's what we do. And that's what we want to continue doing. And if you start seeing writer's block as a signal, and instead of being reactive, you stop and read the terrain, understand what it is telling you, then you will start understanding yourself, understanding your own patterns. And over time, you're going to be able to adjust more quickly, and you're going to be able to reduce the frequency and the severity of that writer's block because you're going to address the underlying issues. I love writer's block because it gives me information, and we can take that information and we can change the way that we work. And that is what creates real productivity. Not the kind of productivity where we're sitting and staring at the page and struggling and being busy but maybe not getting a whole lot done, but the kind of productivity that feels easy, that feels natural. Because writing should feel natural. We're doing something that we love, something that we're passionate about. It is work, but it's not torture. It's not accounting, you know. When we come up against an obstacle, a washed out trail, writer's block, it is natural to lock into that thing and think, how do I beat this? And to feel like you have to either hit it head on or turn tail and run. Because it's in the way of something that we want badly. We want that summit, we want that manuscript. But that single-mindedness can be really detrimental for us, because turning around won't get us what we want, and pushing through, it works until it doesn't. But if we train ourselves to stop and look around, then we can put ourselves in a position to not only get past this obstacle, but to prevent future obstacles. Because if we find something that works, now we know to turn to that. And of course we can figure out what's causing it and make changes that prevent it from happening altogether. No one is saying to stop striving for that summit, to stop working for your writing goals. But writer's block is not the enemy. It is a signal that something's not working. And if we're able to interpret that signal and learn from it, then writer's block becomes one of the best tools that we have to fine-tune our productivity and to write better stories.